Geoffrey Chaucer. Some existing romances were reworked to accommodate her. For example, a French romance from the 12th century, Sir Launfal, had starred a beautiful and mysterious fay who aids a knight. In a late 14th century English rewrite, she becomes explicitly the daughter of the King of Faery, redressed in what was becoming the signature fairy colour of green. By the early 14th century, by the early 15th century, the literary construct of the fairy kingdom, in which the queen was the more prominent ruler, was fully established and found in Scotland as firmly as in England. The famous Scottish romance, True Thomas or Thomas of Ercildoune, featuring just such a queen magnificently, was composed in the first quarter of that century. Until now, fairy had meant enchantment rather than signifying a type of being. But that transition had been made by the 15th century. Furthermore, the concept of the Queen of Fairies had got firmly into popular culture. By 1450, it was found used in England by criminal gangs, by maniacs, and by frauds. And village magicians were claiming to have learned their skills from the Queen. The use by English commoners of what had been a French word, fairy, specifically related to the actions of beings known by the French word fée, shows how much this tradition had been imported from the Romance literature. Thereafter, it remained a major theme of both popular culture and literature all over England and Scotland for the remainder of the early modern period, right through to the end of the 17th century. Poets and playwrights regularly portrayed the fairy queen in their work, her most celebrated appearance being as Shakespeare's Titania. Sometimes, like Titania, she had a husband, and sometimes not. She was also, however, just as prominent in the beliefs of ordinary people. Across most of Britain, popular magicians, the cunning or wise folk, claimed to have been taught their craft by the Queen or her followers. Those accused of witchcraft sometimes likewise claimed to have enjoyed her favours. And confidence tricksters quite frequently defrauded victims by promising to obtain her favours for them. What is really interesting about all this is that fairies in general often still retained the character of Anglo-Saxon elves, of blighting humans or stealing their children. Their queen, however, was almost invariably viewed in positive terms as a benevolent and capable protectress and benefactress. The second really significant supernatural female, whom I'd identify in medieval and early modern popular tradition, appeared much earlier than the fairy queen, in a more mysterious circumstances, and belief in her covered a much larger geographical area. She travelled the night with a retinue of spirits and or special human beings, and was known as Diana, Herodias, Holla or Holder, Percht or Bertha, Bensosia, Satia, Sacria, Abundia, Sibylla, and by a host of local names. Quite commonly, and especially in Italy, she was simply the lady, and her retinue the blessed or good ladies, or the ladies of the night. What she and her followers generally did was to visit the houses of favoured humans, usually the better behaved and cleaner in a community, the good guys, and blessed them with good fortune. They often feasted in those houses, but what the lady and her followers consumed was miraculously restored as they departed. Sometimes they held a revel of their own in some rural place, which is why in Italy the ladies' court was often known as the good game. Three aspects